I'll listen to you anytime you need somebody to talk to. You're a good young man, and you're going to find that too. You're going to be great at what you do, and you're going to find happiness, and just treat that friend with kindness. That's the only way it can go. Be amicable. And like you said, don't argue. That's a good attitude to take. Just walk away, pray, and the next time you see him, extend that kindness. I gotta go. Love you lots, bro. Send me some links. And I'm gonna try and do something about email to make sure I can like and subscribe. They won't even let me subscribe. I'll figure something out. Have a blessed day, brother.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Peace and blessings to everybody. Happy Tuesday, good people of social media. I do hope and pray all is well with everyone in attendance. We are here. We are live. We are blessed. Talk to me nice. Let me know how you feeling. What's on your mind? How's your day going? You dig? We got some stuff to talk about tonight. But before we get into the stream, I gotta give my flowers out and things of that nature. Shout out to my writers, my poets, content creators, so on and so on. I got some technical things I gotta handle here real quick. Susie Howard, if you're still in the building, let me know if you can see and hear me. For whatever reason, this is not allowing you to be seen on my side. I want to make sure that we good. Matter of fact, give me one. Try this again. Yo, 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 yo. All right. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Salute, 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 salutes. All right. Something going on with TikTok. I'm about to get that up off of here. That's hella annoying. Hella annoying. Why the hell isn't it showing up on the screen? That's crazy to me. Nonetheless, we are live. Let me give my intro real quick to the writers, poets, authors, content creators. You know who you are. Salutes to you. Much love. Thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate you in all of your efforts and all of your hard work. Yesterday, if you were live with us, I did a dedication stream specifically for a couple of people. Well, one in particular, Sister Grad. I played one of her videos. Well, I played two of them. I just wanted to show love and support to one of the artists of Threads, man, because she's good. Like, she's really dope. I would highly advise people to go check her out if you haven't. I did add everything in the description for the last stream from yesterday. So if you want to tap in, you are more than welcome to. Uh, Tonight, I wanted to cover something that I never did before. Something that I've never really had a lot of insight on in particular. You see the title, I don't know. I asked you this question. Have you ever heard of this term before? The reason I asked was because it was brought up in a conversation on Threads a couple of weeks ago. I screenshot it and I went to scrolling and I remembered, yeah, this was the one that I wanted to bring to the table at some point. I just kind of forgot about it. So I said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it now. Um, I'll see you in the building, bro. I'm about to pull you up. Y'all make sure y'all go support and show some love to Mr. Matthews. Um, yeah.
What's going on?
Hey. What's good? What's good?
Oh, what's good?
Had a couple
Listen,
little technical difficulties. I was streaming on TikTok, but it wasn't giving me the video feed, so I took it off. Um, I don't know what was going on with that, but it is what it is. How you feeling, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I know I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. I'm this close to publishing my book. Gonna make a few more edits. It's always something, but it's getting closer. It's getting a lot closer. So I'm I'm happy with that. I'm happy that it's going in the direction that I want, which is forward
That's
as opposed to backward.
that's what's up. That's what's up. Exclusive. Yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that. I know I'm going to be one of the first to grab me a copy.
Oh, I'm gonna send you a copy because I'm gonna want you to look it over and tell me what you think. So you'll be getting an exclusive copy of the manuscript. I'm only releasing 200 pre-release copies, and you'll be one of them.
Salute. Shout out to Greg Kelly in the building. Appreciate you pulling up, sir. Hope you feeling better, man. I know you got a lot of stuff going on health wise. Matter of fact, you were saying that you had a sleep study thing going on. I hope that helped you out. I don't know if that was a day or not. My kind of, yeah, I'm all over the place sometimes, but uh tonight's subject, dissociative amnesia. I never heard of it before. I've heard of amnesia. I've never heard of dissociative amnesia. Um, I did a little reading on it. I didn't dig deep enough into it, but like I said, somebody brought it up in a conversation, and I wanted to touch on this one. I'll concede the mic if you want to just share some opening thoughts on it, and we'll just go from there.
Sure. So I wanted to do some research also just to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, because that's the kind of person that I am. And as I was doing research, I'm like, oh yeah, I did study this. So dissociative amnesia is as it sounds. So when you think of the word dissociative and amnesia, if you take them apart, you look at the words directly. Dissociative means pulling apart or distancing from, or escaping, or creating some sort of barrier, distance, or block that prevents an occurrence from affecting the person's emotional state. That's what dissociation is. Then when you look at amnesia, it's the ability to forget. So distancing and forgetting. And when someone like me puts those things together, the first thing that comes to mind is trauma. The first thing that comes to mind is something that is so adverse that the mind can't cope, and so decides to purge it from the conscious mind and bury it as a subconscious faculty so that it doesn't have to be brought up. The problem with that is there's a great book by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps the Score. And this is a book that talks about how the body is actually part of the brain, that the brain extends all the way through the body in a process called the subconscious. And within that body, you have many different cellular levels in which emotion is stored. And it can be stored in your organs, in your muscles, in your viscera itself, and in your fascia. And the fascia is basically the fatty layer between your skin and your dermis and your epidermis. So your surface layer of skin and your deep layer of skin. The layer that's supposed to protect and keep all your insides inside. So when you have a strong emotional either stress or trauma, whether it be childhood, which is the most common, but you've also got certain experiences in adulthood that can create the same kind of sense, either conditions that deal with helplessness or with captivity. It doesn't have to be actual captivity, but the feeling of being a captive can oftentimes create these types of emotions. And if they're severe enough, the mind is going to want to purge them from its memory so that it's no longer a reminder. Because we're talking about something that you had to learn how to cope with in real time when you had no tools or no preparedness to deal with it. Something brand new that was as immediate as it could be, without causing instant unaliveness, but was strong enough where you felt the need, you had to survive minute by minute, hour by hour. And so then your mind says, oh, screw this crap, and just completely purges it. Well, the body remembers. And so your subconscious feelings, your subconscious attitude is going to feed off of that. It's going to respond to this energetic capturing that your body has of this experience. And this is why it's not just called forgetting, because if there was no problem with what you experienced after you purged it from your mind, it would just be called forgetting, but it's not. It's dissociative amnesia. It's forgetfulness, but still causes an effect on your body and on your everyday experiences. I'm going to yield the mic there.
So sort of like I'm gonna use a metaphor, sort of like having a caretaker of a cemetery, someone who basically takes care of the grounds, the headstones, make sure that they're still upright, the flowers are still placed there, things of that nature. Only with your subconscious acting as a gatekeeper between you and the situation that took place, where it kind of guards the action that took place, keeping it submerged while also allowing you to live your life. But on the flip side, even though you have something that's kind of passively keeping it buried beneath the surface, it still rears its head. And so, like, throughout your everyday living, it'll occasionally show itself through some of your behavior patterns. Maybe it'll surface in like a relationship or in like your attitude. Um, Maybe it even integrates itself into your personality over time. And am I close? Am I off?
Well, if we're going to use the metaphor of a cemetery, I think that's a great metaphor because everything that has any kind of business is underneath. It's already buried. So this is a really good metaphor. So let's say that you've buried something in the cemetery that you don't want to have any remembrance of, where everything else has a headstone. You're not going to have a headstone in this on this plot of land because you want it to be forgotten. But now the body has begun to decay and is now seeping into the ground, affecting everything else and creating a bad land. That's kind of what I'm talking about with dissociative amnesia. You don't want to remember it. There's no milestone that really points to it, but the effects of what you experience are still there and are still permeating across everything that you've experienced or will experience.
Okay, okay. So let's say that you basically can't successfully keep it covered up, which, if I'm reading this right, is impossible. There's no hiding that. I don't care how long you kind of avoid it, it's always going to be in the back of your head at some point. Something might trigger you to remember it. Um, the type of trauma that you're referring to, I'm thinking of maybe war. Maybe you saw a crime happen in your childhood, or maybe something happened to you personally. There's a lot of stories of men and women who have been like sexually assaulted by family members and things of that nature, and it affected them later on in life, but they tried to deal with it the best they could, but they probably never got the proper help for it. Would you say that has something to do with what we're speaking on now? Does this all connect? Because I don't necessarily think violence is always the the cause for it. I think there's many versions to it, but That's just my initial thought.
So the kind of trauma we're talking about is anything that is violent, sexual, or emotionally betraying, where the emotional betrayal is of the experience they've never experienced before, causes a shock to the system, and is turned into some sort of internal experience where now they must radically change who they are in order to survive. The the key word here is survival. It triggers the visceral survival mechanism. We're not just talking about fight or flight. We're talking about something much deeper. The desire to survive, the desire to continue living. And oftentimes, even though there aren't experiences that are going to necessarily rise to that level, when you have an experience, you haven't experienced before, you have nothing else to relate it to, it feels like survival. It feels like a need for survival. Children who are told that at a very young age that they need to stop talking, or are physically punished or even beaten because they either talk too much, talk to the wrong time, interrupt their parents when they don't want to be interrupted, or whatever. This can be a cause of dissociative amnesia. It is a traumatic experience, both physical and emotional, that relates to the need to survive, but also the need to forget, um, because of the nature of the interaction. And oftentimes, this can leave children with either speech impediments, render them mute, or render them have being developmentally delayed in certain areas because they have shunted a certain part of them and stunted its growth.
You're right. Absolutely. If I go back in time, I can think of a number of uh scenarios where I always wanted to say something, but I was told not to say something, or I was put in like an uncomfortable position where I had to choose between one person over the other person, and it was like, well, if you take their side, then it's going to seem as if you love that person more than you love the other person. To me, that was torturous because I didn't want to be good cop, bad cop. I'm 7, 8 years old. I am not trying to be in the middle of this. But then later on in life, you adapt that little attitude, and you find yourself still trying to play sides, and ultimately it bites you in the ass. You look stupid because to everybody else you're double minded. You don't really know where you stand, what you stand on, and you can't be trusted. It gives the impression that I can't leave information with you because you might go back and say something to the other person, or you won't hold the right people accountable when it's time to because of your indecisiveness, because you want to play the field, you want to make everybody happy, and you can't make everybody happy.
No, that's absolutely true. And the more that we create these kinds of experiences, or the more we encounter these kinds of experiences, the more they reinforce that behavior. Even if I guarantee there are some things that you talked about that you don't even remember happening. There are some things that you do remember, but other things that you won't. I don't know the nature of your upbringing, but I have a fair guess that there are some things that you have chosen to forget, and even though you've forgotten them, they have still left their indelible mark on you, and they have added or contributed to the person that you are. So there's two things I want to mention here. One is that having dissociative amnesia doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with who you are. In fact, the experiences that you've had have helped to shape you to who you are. And it's really important for you to see that as a blessing. Because if you hadn't had the experiences you had, you couldn't be the person that you are today. And the one thing I want everyone to really understand is that the person that you are is beautiful. The person that you are is absolutely necessary. The world needs something that you have to offer. So it's important for you to see that in yourself as well, because that's the only way that you will be able to recognize the greatness within you so others can really benefit from your greatness. That being said, I do want to also let you know that having a dissociative amnesia is going to hinder you a little bit. There are going to be some things that you don't know why you do, or certain parts of your behavior that you don't clue in on that other people do. And if they aren't willing to be helpful, meaning they're not willing to help shine a light on what's going on, it's going to leave you confused because people are going to react to your behavior rather than trying to understand you. And so there's two ways that you can go about releasing the energies of dissociative amnesia. Only two ways that I know of. One is conscious, one is subconscious. Sometimes the subconscious leads to the conscious anyway. And so that's fine too. But when you have a conscious realization of what used to be a dissociative amnesia episode or span of time, and so dissociative amnesia block, I guess we'll call it. When you suddenly remember it, you instantly, in that moment, are reliving the experience that you had back when. Doesn't matter when it was, but you instantly have the reminder. You instantly relive it in real time. The reason why is because the subconscious mind does not understand the difference between the past, present, and future. Anything that is relived in the present, or anything that was relived in the past, but is being brought up in the present, the subconscious mind is going to believe that it is being experienced in the present. And so it is going to focus resources on the things that are necessary to help you survive in that moment. However, the benefit is that you've already experienced this before. So the likelihood of you re-traumatizing yourself is almost nil. Now, I say almost, meaning that if you're going to do this, make sure you have someone who's very well experienced, either a therapist who has done this before or a coach who has experience in this, before you go trying it on yourself, because it can create its own negative narrative in your mind, and we don't want that. What we want is to be able to expel and purge this completely from your mind and your body. So you have an ab reaction, which is an intense reliving of that experience, but that also creates the possibility for intense release, usually through crying, wailing, thrashing around, whatever's needed to do. These things are the conscious or the physical release of these, the conscious physical release of this experience. And this is very therapeutic. This is very necessary. So that's the first way. The second way is through a purely subconscious means. And this requires you to be completely unconscious, usually under a hypnotic trance or somehow otherwise rendered not sleeping, but in a transcendental state. And when you are in that state, it's possible for these feelings and these memories to bubble up and just be released. And the way that they are released is through a process called tremoring. Now, a person can force tremoring by holding a muscle out for a certain period of time. So muscles were meant to be at rest. They were meant to be active for a certain amount of time and then be at rest. If you hold your arm out for a length of time, longer than it's supposed to, it begins to shake, it begins to gyrate, you begin to sweat, like, I can't hold it up anymore. And that's okay. What happens after that, when you begin to feel a weakness, but you keep it up, is you feel that tremoring. The tremoring is the release of not only physical energy, but also emotional energy. And the TRE, the tremor release exercise, has been used by therapists very successfully especially in a subconscious state where the mind is able to process things in its own time, release them, and the body just kind of tremors for a little bit, and then releases. Sometimes, if it's violent enough, almost looks like a seizure, but it's not a seizure. It is just an involuntary set of muscles that are firing in order to basically let go and squeeze out, for lack of a better term, the emotional energy. And there have been countless studies that have shown that TRE, usually more than one session, 5 or 6 sessions, will completely erase any kind of emotional imprint that a traumatic experience has left, whether it is remembered or whether it is dissociative amnesia. I said a lot. I'm going to let everyone process what I just said, and I'm going to shut up for a little bit.
I like the word purge. That's the one word that resonated through the entire speech that you just put on display here. I never had an issue with therapy or therapist. I think one of there's two issues or concerns that I think a lot of people have with that. One, it being pricey. Two, you're going to another human being to share intimate details about you that you've never shared with anyone else. How do you know that the person that you are sitting with, given all of your most intimate parts of you to, is going to be responsible with your thoughts, with your embarrassment, with your humiliation, with your tears, with your crimes, with your sins, with your sorrows, with your weaknesses? How can you 100% sit there and trust it? It's like picking up a stranger on the side of the road who just got their thumb out, like, hey, I'm just trying to get into town, but you don't really know what comes with that person. I always prided myself on being a fairly decent listener. And if I was ever to give any feedback or advice to anyone, I wanted to be as honest and as transparent as possible without bias. Because I don't think that you can actually care for a person and lie to them. You might not like the answers, but at least I'm being honest with you. How can you love somebody lying to them? And even though I don't have a license or nothing like that, I know that one of the key ingredients to really trying to actually help someone is to be a listener. You have to at least know how to listen, absorb the information given to you, and be able to connect with the person that's sharing the information with you to a degree where, one, they feel comfortable enough to just let their hair down and open up to you freely. You have to make sure that you're connected to them good enough to where they're open to hearing criticism and constructive thought, whether or not it's popular to them. Maybe it might be brand new information being fed to them, but you want them to feel safe, because the mind is very delicate. The things that people experience can really ruin a lot of people. There's a lot of folks out here right now with daddy issues, with mama mama issues. Just it's just scattered all over the place. You name it, it's readily here. I mean, you can see it on social media, even out and about in real life. So I like what you said about basically purging it. I don't believe a lot of people are willing to be rid of it. Maybe they are and they don't know how. I don't know. But yeah.
So something you've said, we've covered this topic quite a few times. It seems it's something that's recurring, and I think it's because it's something that needs constant reminder. Not a bad thing. So, in her book, Polyvagal Theory and Therapy, Deb Dana talks about how the goal is to be able to fall in love with life and to enjoy or be excited by the risk of living. And there is a profound sense about understanding that life is a risk. And if you live in a state of fear, you deny yourself that risk, because growth only comes from risk. And if you're living in fear, then you are denying yourself the ability to grow. You have created a prison of your own making around yourself because you don't want bad shit to happen to you. Well, newsflash, bad shit's already happened to you, and it's going to happen to you again. The thing that you have to understand is that it's not all bad, and that there are people that can be trusted. You just have to be willing to find them. You have to be willing to take the risk to live and understand who can be trusted and who needs to be done away with, who you need to separate from and go in a different direction. It isn't that people are evil. It's that there are some people for you, there are other people not for you. The experience of emotional disappointment or of knowing that some people are not, that you can't trust them, doesn't mean that they are fundamentally untrustworthy. It's that they are not for you. And that's a good thing, because it helps you understand who is for you. And the more people you find who are for you, you can even use that as a template of, I want to find more people like this, like this, like this. So it takes living in order to live. Now, a second part of that I want to talk about is the idea that humanity is a social organism. It requires people to interact with in order to feel fulfillment. And that includes building trust. And the way that you are talking about trust is the way a lot of other people talk about trust as well. They hold it hostage. They won't let it go unless they have a sure thing that someone else meets the requirement for trust. But there's no way to know that. And you cannot hold trust hostage and expect it from someone else, or releasing it only when you experience it. It doesn't work that way. If you want to experience trust, be willing to offer it. That is first of all, that's the only way to truly heal. Second of all, it's the only way to really build connections and build trust with someone. This includes with intimate relationships, friendships, co-workers, and family. Everything requires trust. Trust is the currency of the human connection. If you aren't willing to share it, then you are denying yourself it. And you're denying other people the ability to experience you fully as well. The power of fear, all that it does is trick you into believing that trust is something that must be held sacred and has to be protected at all costs. When the reality is, trust is the thing that we have to lead with in order to be able to celebrate the true connections that really help us thrive. Is it going to get beat up? Yes. Is it going to be taken advantage of? Absolutely. But you know what? As long as you only allow that to happen once in an interaction, and then you refuse to let that happen again with that similar interaction, you're good, because you've turned into a learning experience rather than a self-fulfilling masochistic property. And I think this is the thing that we really have to understand, that trust is a currency. The only way we grow is if we create trust. The only way we heal is if we create trust. The only way that we really flourish as a species is through creating positive instances of trust with each other. It's the only way. And once we begin leading with that, we're going to see that there's going to be a lot less instances. Naturally, we're going to see a lot less instances of people who have long-term emotional distress. We're going to begin seeing that people are willing to actually lean on each other to create connections that are going to be healing. And the only ones that are going to hold on to it are the ones that refuse to get with the program. That's their choice. But if you are serious about wanting to heal, if you're serious about wanting to overcome these limiting and these false beliefs that you have about yourself, the only way that that's going to change is if you are willing to extend trust to others so that they can appreciate you and build trust with you.
Hold on. Can I get my... I guess they're not trying to let me do it.
How dare you?
I like that. You can't put control on trust. That is a good one. Actually, is kind of like oxymoronic, really. For folks who have gone through something, it changed them, and the way that they view men and women, where they don't really believe in love, where they don't believe that people are genuinely there for the right reasons because of what they saw or experienced, and they've adapted to the environment that was created through them. How well, I look at it two ways. One, how do you acknowledge the fact that, all right, this is what I've been burying. I know it's there. I need to deal with it because it's not going anywhere. How do I address it so that I can actually release it? Do I take this to someone? Do I take this to the higher power and allow him to guide me in the process of alleviating myself of the responsibility of what took place at that particular point in time? How do I even acknowledge what happened or what I dealt with? Because a lot of people are just running away from it. The reason you have an attitude issue is because of this. The reason why you don't trust men and you don't trust women is because of this. The reason why you treat people the way you treat them is because of this. But you don't never sit and actually think, well, why am I like this? Why do I do this? And if you tell them, a lot of folks, they feel like that's just what they have to do. They're already just locked in. Well, that's how I was raised. So that's just what it is. That's how I have to survive. This is how I have to deal with what comes. And to me, right there, that explains what you said about you can't put control on trust. The only difference is you're doing it to yourself. There's you can have someone like you talking to someone that you've known for years, and they'll give you that rhetoric. But even if you weren't even having a conversation, or let's say you didn't even know what was going on with them, they know what's going on with them, but they've already created this in their head to where, well, this is what it is. I got to deal with it how the cards were laid out to me. That seems self-sabotaging to me. I
It
get you.
seems that way because it is. It's a whole walks like a duck, quacks like a duck kind of thing. So here's the best way for me to explain it. I can only provide answers based on what I've experienced, and this is something that I was able to really come to terms with within myself. I realized something, but I only realized it because I was in an environment where I felt safe enough to do so. And that's the first step. The first step is a desire to create a safe or find or so you create and you find at the same time. So you create a safe space by finding and surrounding yourself with the kind of people that make you feel like you can be safe. And safe is more than just protection. Protection is the understanding that you are free from harm in this moment, but only this moment. Whereas safety is the belief that you are free from harm in this moment and until things change. So the only way we can really relax is if we feel safe, men and women. And the only way to really create that kind of safety is through trust. And so here we go again with this same argument of needing to really create and to establish trust at the same time. You are creating it and you are establishing it with others because of the way in which you interact. And so through those trusting relationships, when you have enough of them, or you have a deep enough trust with a person for an extended period of time, this allows a person's stress levels to come down to a point where they can begin to really examine and work on the things that they have been suffering from. Some of these things are going to be dissociative amnesia inducing. And because of that, they're going to elicit very strong, very pronounced emotional expressions. They're going to be things that people experience intensely. This is an ab reaction, and it's necessary sometimes in order to release it. And like I said, this can only happen when a person feels safe enough to be able to examine these things. So there was a woman, an anthropologist by the name of Margaret Mead, and she asked her a class that she was teaching. She taught university level anthropology for a while. I forget where. It's not really important. But what is important is the question that she asked. The question she asked was, what do you think was the start, the very beginning of civilization? What evidence do you think was the very beginning of civilization? And Mel, I'll give you a chance to answer.
Oh man, if I had to guess, probably. Are we talking biblical or just because I want to say the Stone Age, pretty much where we discovered fire and things of that nature.
So that would be a moment of survival. That would be the moment when survival really began to take shape. When we found fire, when we were able to create fire, and Homo sapiens didn't create fire, Neanderthals did. But Homo sapiens, humans, were able to also understand how to create fire and then make it better. The start of civilization, and no one knows exactly when this was, but it was the first time when there was evidence of of a break and a healing of the femur bone. And the reason why this is important is because if a creature, especially a human, were to break their femur bone in the wild, they're basically done. They can't run. They can't really do much of anything. All they can do is basically wait to die if they are alone. So what we're seeing is that there was someone who broke their femur bone, and then there was one or more people who saw this person and tended to their wounds and allowed them to the time required to heal until they could walk on their own and fend for themselves. This was the mark. This is the beginning of civilization. The beginning when people cared for each other and decided that they were going to put the needs of the collective of humanity above their own. This was the mark of the beginning of society. So when you look at it from that perspective, and then you see that if you take emotional healing from the same context as physical healing, it takes time, it takes community, it takes a safe space in order to be able to allow the healing process. You realize that we need each other in order to do that. We can't do it alone. And so it requires the right kind of community of people where we feel like we have found our tribe, where we find a group of people that we can really trust in to allow the healing process to happen. Because otherwise we're just hobbling along, trying to do the best that we can, surviving the best we can without actually doing any real healing work.
Pride is a son of a bitch. It really is. A person to get hit by a car and still won't ask you for help right now. I'm not talking about 20, 30 years ago. I'm talking about right now. The way people's minds is wired, you can't, like, I open the door for somebody and they're befuddled. Their face is like, thank you. And it's weird because it might not be something, it might be foreign to you. It's not foreign to me. I'm just used to being that way. But in terms of uncovering the layers of darkness and dealing with certain things that transpired from the age of whatever to the age of such and such, we would rather suffer than to get help for it. That's what I'm noticing. So when a person says, I'm in my healing era, what does that look like? What does that mean? What are you talking about?
I'm going to challenge you on something that you just said. Because you said that people aren't willing to help other people, and that has not been my experience at all. Even in the most chaotic of cities, there are people who are willing to help other people. Good people are really all around us. And to have the belief that this is not the case, I would invite you to really investigate what it is that you are holding on to that makes you feel that way. Because that has not been my experience at all. Are there people who are insensitive, apathetic, and downright assholes? Absolutely. But the number pales in comparison to the number of people who do want to do good. They may not take action, but they want to do good. They don't want to necessarily do harm. And especially in times of crisis, real crisis, you see people who even the ones who are hesitant to really take action in a time of real crisis, these are the ones who do. They do something because they know what's at stake. So I would invite you to really think on that and find out what it is that has created that thought process, because I've seen both sides, and I've seen that when people need to come together, there are way more people who want to come together than there are who want to tear us apart. That's the first thing. The second thing that I would say is, when it comes to someone finding their healing, when they are on their healing journey, they've given up the BS. They no longer buy into the things that continually create stress. They're over it. And again, this is a survival mechanism. I can't take any more stress. I'm just going to say screw the entire thing and go my own way. You see this all the time with high-powered, high-positioning people who just give it up and go live in the backwater of Australia, living in a yurt, and surrounded, become hermits, and just they can't take the rat race any longer. They refuse to be a part of it, and so they just do their own thing. That's one. That's more of escapism than actually a healing journey. But the ones who are on the healing journey are actually looking for the answers. They're going to the places where people congregate to either look for or to share the information that's being sought after. And it's not the information itself, but it's what the information helps a person understand and reveal about themselves. And that is what the healing journey is all about, how that can be used to really help others. What that can be used to provide a greater lesson for the self in order to rise above even self-actualization to self-transcendence and be a beacon of hope to others. Share one's own experiences as a way of being a positive impact on others. That's all I have to say about that.
I don't think everybody is just crappy people. I know where the source of my issue comes from because I've been away from it so long. I had no choice but to face it and deal with it. What I was, I guess, what I was alluding to was more or less in the aspect of the psychosis that was developed in duration of the experiences that you eventually put to the back burner, which turns you into the person that you see before you now. And somebody during your journey points it out. I just meet you a couple of weeks ago. We go out, we hang out, we have a drink here and there. We share the same banter exchange. A couple of months go in, we get closer. We share things. So me, hey, look, I noticed some stuff. You ever thought about, you know, this isn't normal, or you ever like, hey, and then the response, and maybe it's just a minority. To me, it seems more it seems like it's on a larger scale than what it is, and I could be wrong because, like, my circle, I don't have one. So the people that I've often dealt with, they don't listen. They don't want to hear it. You can't say nothing to them, even though you know what you're talking about. They don't want to hear it. They're defensive. They're always combative with you versus somebody else. So you can hear it from them, but you can't hear it from me. That's more or less what I'm referring to.
Yeah. So a lot of this has to do with the nature of the connection as well as the delivery. And the reason, and what I mean by that is, if you want to see someone go go further than where they are, you can't reach them based on your expectation of them or their potential. You can't speak to them as if you were speaking to them where they are already at the potential, because they aren't, or else you wouldn't be speaking about it. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be an issue. You have to meet them where they are. So I'll give you a really good example. So not too the last time I spoke, I made mention of something that you might be um, dealing with that is causing you to have a certain point of view, and you did not take that personally. And it's because of the way that I delivered it. I said I wanted to challenge you, and I said I invite you to maybe really understand what's going on. You could have told me to F off. You could have told me that I don't know what I'm talking about. You could have said any number of things. And if I had said, well, I think you're wrong because I think you're looking at this really narrowly, and I don't think you really understand how to trust people. That's a very blunt way of looking at it, and that could cause a much greater insult to somebody who understands what they're doing but doesn't want to really face it to that level. Where if you say it in a way that shows care, says, I wonder if there's something that you might be dealing with, or I wonder if there's something that is causing you to think this way or to feel this way. I wonder if there's something underlying that is contributing to this behavior. Now you show curiosity, and you're allowing your curiosity to drive you rather than your desire to see them change. You want to understand. And that creates collaboration rather than criticism. Pointing out their wrong behavior and how you don't see it as being right is criticism. And oftentimes people meet criticism with defensiveness. And that's what you experience. When someone is not going to want to listen to you, they're being defensive because they're feeling attacked. Whereas if you collaborate with them, they may still get a little defensive, but nowhere near as much. And they're going to want to explain themselves. But in doing so, they're also going to see how your observation is spot on, and their explanation is kind of letting them know that their behavior is not right, because now they have to say it out loud. And like, did I just say that? Is that really how I'm acting? Oh, I am an asshole, aren't I? Damn. And then they have to really examine themselves. So it really is a point of delivery, being able to access them where they are, because I guarantee they aren't in a place where they are doing self-reflection, where they are really calling themselves to account of the behavior they are observing. It's probably still something that's more underneath, or something they don't want to have to deal with, which causes the behavior to manifest, oddly enough. But by being a person who can more collaborate with them and find out why, and get them to really want to express why they are dealing this way, why they are living this way, or dealing with others this way, behaving this way, whatever the proper English is going to be. I really don't care. Then that's going to be something that's going to be more constructive. It's going to be something that shows that you can be trusted because you aren't judging them. There's no risk of rejection. It is collaboration.
Collaboration versus criticism. It's basically verbiage matters.
Absolutely. 100%.
For those for those of you who don't think having a vocabulary isn't important, it most certainly is. You can take a word and make it mean whatever you want if you deliver it the right way. And I'll be honest, I've been told on a number of occasions that my delivery is is eccentric. I'll say that because a lot of times if I get into a discussion and I'm trying to drive it home, I do get a little more passionate about it. I don't often once I get to going, I don't really think about it until I've already said it, and it might come off like I'm being brash. Something I've had to keep in the back of my head more and more and more. And you just, brought it back to my attention. I can't speak for nobody else. How you talk to people matters. What you say to a person matters. If you're really trying to help someone, really think about it. It should be you would think it's easier doing it with people that you know already because you know them, so you should already know how to present whatever it is that you want. But I don't know. Maybe it works for y'all. It don't work for me.
I find the friends that I've done the longest, I have the hardest time with being able to get through to them. And I think I know why. I think it's because as I've gotten to know them, they have developed a trust with me based on who they are displaying themselves as. And if their behavior is something that I don't call out or that I allow to happen and don't say anything about, then it becomes the thing that is understood that I am accepting about them. And it goes back to the adage that negative behavior that is not corrected becomes rewarded. So they are being rewarded through the relationship I have with them based on their behavior because I've allowed it to go on for so long. And maybe that's a requirement they have in order to create connections with someone. Who knows why that is? But the moment that I bring it up, especially if I bring it up the wrong way, it jeopardizes the entire friendship because now they feel like I'm betraying them. And yeah, in a sense, I am because I am betraying my understanding of who they are presenting themselves as because I have made the agreement that I am okay with it or I'm accepting it or at least I am not um, judging or rejecting it. And then to bring it up, um, if it's not done in the right way and if it's not done um, in a manner that does help to create the self-reflecting process and it doesn't feel like an attack, it absolutely will feel like a betrayal. And people that you know the longest, the ones you have to approach it with the most compassion. Because again, you've built a relationship based on a certain understanding. And what you are doing now is you're saying that understanding has to change.
I feel like I finally I feel like we've been playing Uno for the last few months, and I finally got my Uno reverse card. I feel like I finally got a Uno reverse card because now I got to challenge you on something. And this goes for me too because I'm in the same boat. So I invite you to ask yourself then, did you sign up for that? Did you really?
Yes, absolutely, I did. Yes, absolutely, because I allowed it. I made the agreement with them in doing so. Regardless of what my ulterior motives were, I absolutely um, signed up for that agreement. And so I have allowed the relationship to go on based on that person's expectations and that person's desire for what is seen as acceptable, and that's toxic as hell. And especially if I'm going in with a belief, oh, I can change that person, which I've done in the past, then that's also toxic, and it creates a powder keg that is going to blow, and it is going to jeopardize the entire integrity of that relationship if not done the right way. And I absolutely take responsibility for the fact that I have also allowed that to happen. Absolutely. In recent time, I have been a lot more transparent about the kind of people that I'm willing to associate with, and the kind of people that I'm willing to really put my trust in. Probably why my relationship, why my friend circle is still so damn small. Because there are a lot of things that I'm not willing to put up with, and I am very vocal about that. And if a person isn't willing to at least have a discussion about that, if they say all or nothing, I say nothing. So I have got a lot better at that. It is something that I used to do a lot, though. It's something I used to allow bad behavior just because I wanted to be accepted. That was my desire, was acceptance. So I know exactly where you're going with that, and you are absolutely right. Absolutely, I did. We're all human. Humans desire interaction and acceptance. So we're going to do whatever is necessary in order to get that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's this old adage. It's like, just because you knew me then don't mean I'm the same person now. I don't know how many times I've had this conversation with someone. You're still looking at me from the person from the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, the same person from 5, 10 years ago. I'm not the same person anymore. I don't think the same way. I don't find the same things funny or entertaining. So the conflict comes when the version of you meets the version of you that they still see. And when they collide, they don't know how to handle that. So now you have to make a decision. Well, are you going to rethink how you've been in this partnership, friendship, whatever? Or are you going to continue to go down the road that you've been going down with this, which is you think I'm always going to be that way, and I'm just going to reject that completely. We're at the crossroads. We have to make a decision. I get you 100%. That's why my circle, I don't have one at all. And I'm okay with that because no.
So this past April, I had the opportunity of going back to Massachusetts, where I'm from. And I spent about 2 months with my dad. Awesome time. Loved it so much. It was long overdue. And I met up with many people. Hey, what's up, Light and Love? I met up with many people that I knew as a child. And I used to get so frustrated with them because I was wondering why they didn't see me as being someone when I was between 23, 25, even 28, when they knew me. Why do they still treat me like a kid? Why do they still see me as the past tense version of who I was? I've grown. I've experienced things. Why don't they see that? Well, when I saw them this past April and May, there was a huge shift. And I'm a person who doesn't forget anything. I don't forget any of the interactions that I have with people. I have a long memory, for better or for worse. And people would remark saying, "You have grown up so much. There's this essence about you that's really powerful. You've really come into your own." And I've documented my journey through my coming through the shadow of my own self, and the really coming out the other side. And so I could see why they said what they were saying about me now, because I have done so much work on myself to no longer be seen as a boy, but to be seen as a man. It's because of the work that I have done. And it was an aha moment for me. The reason why people were unwilling to see me as anything other than a boy before was because I was still exhibiting boy-like behavior. And the only time people saw me as a man was when I took on the persona, behaviors, especially responsibility and accountability, that men have. And that was when they began to see me differently. And that was what I really cherished about my interactions with them, because I was able to see that. I was able to see through their eyes how they saw me in that moment, because I noticed how they had seen me before, and I remembered that. And now really seeing how they responded to me now versus what I believed they were going to see me as, and noticing that difference, it was very liberating. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go to a different country or you have to go somewhere else to go on this personal journey of self-discovery and really go through the dark night of the soul in order, and you have to go through that journey to do that. You have to go through the dark night of the soul. Everyone does. It's how we grow. We have to allow our previous version of ourselves, our ego, to die in order to understand what else we're capable of. And that's all that I'm saying, is that when you get to the point of being able to have that journey, whatever it entails, however you have it, and you have this realization about yourself that you know what needs to change and you are willing to do what is needed to change it, that is when people have a different view of you. That is when people's perception of you change, because you have changed the perception of yourself.
Light and Love asked, if you don't mind me asking, Jason, did you know to be proud of yourself and your accomplishments?
Not always. It's something that I had to do a lot of work in order to really see myself as someone as worthy of being proud, or worthy of being someone who could accomplish things. Because I used to not have a very good idea of myself at all. I had a huge problem with my own self-worth. And so it took me the desire to overcome that, and everything else that was tied up in that. Because it wasn't just one thing, it was many, many different things that I had to do a deep dive on. And I had to be willing to fight through it in order to come out the other side. And it wasn't until I did that I realized that there were some things that I was really good at that I could be proud of, that I could take pride in my accomplishments for. And that's when I really began to appreciate the things that I had done, the knowledge that I have and how I could actually help people. But before that, it was really hard. I hope that answers your question.
I want to add on to that too, right? Because I struggled with my identity for years until I finally got comfortable enough to discover my own talents and my own gifts and what I was really good at. I had to have a bunch of shitty friendships to know that I didn't identify with that. I had to watch the transactions, the illegal transactions go to and fro to realize that wasn't my forte. I had to see for myself how fickle humans can be before I realized that I shouldn't be investing way too much of myself into other people. Rather, I should be focusing on what I'm good at, what I enjoy doing, and what God would prefer for me to have. And what He look at it like this: your parent only wants what's best for you. They know you're going to mess up, you're going to fall, stumble, lose your way, all that. But your parent ultimately only wants what's best for you. So I imagine that if any of these people were meant to be there, they would still be here. If I was designed or meant to do certain things, I would be still doing it. It takes a lot of trial and a lot of error. It's a blessing. It really is to still be here right now after all of the mistakes that we've made, all of the bad decisions and choices that we've made with people, with ourselves. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in with that. But I salute you, bro, because same way, man. Same way. And like I said, I still have this conversation. And like I'm at the point to where I don't even want to do that no more. Well, I still had that conversation with no, bro. I'm nah, this is not that. I'm not that person anymore. You gotta go ahead, make a decision. We either here or we not. I'm at the point where I don't even want to pick up the phone for just about anybody. It depends on who it is because I don't want that around me. She said yes and congratulations on making it to the other side.
Yeah, I saw that. Great comment.
Yeah. A lot to unpack. A lot to unpack. Fortunately, it's documented. You can always watch the replay if you want. If you missed any of the stream, it was a little rough at the beginning because I was trying to run multiple things at once, but we got you there. Um, let me see. I'm on my way. I'm on my own journey of self discovery and I'm doing my shadow work. Sometimes I'm totally shaken by it, but I'm not letting it deter my progress.
That's common. That's when you know you're really doing the work. If it becomes hard and it's something you want to shy away from, you that's when it's important to double down because you know you're onto something. When it's the most painful or makes you feel the most exposed and most vulnerable, that's when you know you're on the right thing. If it feels easy or provides you confidence, you're not doing the right thing. It should not feel easy. This should strip you. The end result should strip you of any notion of who you thought you were. And that is the thing that most people are scared shitless of. This is why so many people are unwilling to do the work. because it requires them to release whatever they thought their identity was. And for many people, their trauma or their negative happenstance, the negative experiences they have in life, they've tied to their identity. And if you aren't willing to let that go, you can't grow. It's impossible.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. I'm glad it circled back. I'm glad it circled back. That's exactly what I meant by people not really wanting help, because they just, it's no different than me seeing one of my folks that I ran the streets with down here, up and down the neighborhood, talking about, I ain't leaving, I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna do this. No, what? Right. You try to talk to them, but it's like, nah. And then it gets to a point where you said all you can. Maybe it's time for you to go ahead and part ways.
Either that or some revelation that reestablishes or redefines the relationship are the only two ways that a relationship built on the past can ever succeed. Or I'm sorry, not succeed, but the only two paths forward. You either redefine the relationship, and so you rediscover even friendships. You rediscover what you know about each other, discarding what you thought you knew, and really creating a new definition of how you relate, or you go to your separate ways. Only two options that are available.
I think we need. I think we need to go do that one. That should be the next one. I absolutely think that should be the next one, because, quite frankly, I think a lot of people are there right now. I think a lot of them are right there, and you need to make a choice. I don't want to go too far into it, but that's something that I want to dive into more specifically.
Yeah, that's something that Light and Love too, just commented on as well, and so true. It's sad, but it's sad because they can't take the journey with you, and it's sad because you know or you have an idea of what's waiting for you on the other side. There is a salvation that is waiting for you when you decide to let go of this previous version of yourself. And when others aren't willing to do that with you, that is the sad part, because the people that you've experienced so much with, you can't share in this experience with them. And like I said, humanity is a social organism. We rely on the community building as one of the most important parts of thriving as humans.
What he said. Shit, that's real talk. Absolutely. Don't even feel bad. I mean, you can, but what's waiting for you most likely is going to be more than what you could have ever imagined. All because you decided that some things need to stay where they are so that you can continue the race. I think that's responsible. I think it's healthy, actually. And if anyone says anything, they gaslight, or they're in denial, or they don't really understand what you see. But I digress.
It's funny. The story of the crucifixion is a great allegory for this because it's as much a message for us as it was a story. Because the only way that we grow is if we allow ourselves to die on our own proverbial cross, and we allow that time, the 3 days time of being able to experience that, and then come out, be reborn afterwards, and a metaphorical bringing back to life rather than a literal one. But it is that transformation that's required in order for us to grow beyond who we are and to really understand what our true purpose is while we're here.
Hey, man, my soundboard it froze on me, so I couldn't go back to it. Matter of fact, let me see. I I gotta get that train in at least once before we get up out of here, because a lot of gems was dropped tonight. And honestly, I need to jot down that redefining the friendship drink, because real spill, some people need to hear this shit. A lot of people, because y'all still holding on to folks that ain't doing you no good. You can love them from a distance, but they can't continue on with where you're going, and that's okay. Hold up. Um, any final thoughts? Any final thoughts before we get out of here? The topic was on uh damn. Hold on. This shit right here.
Dissociative amnesia.
Thank you. I was trying to pull up my soundboard so I can get my. There it is. There it is.
Better late than never. Yeah. So the only way that we're going to heal from the stresses and traumas that we experience is being willing to create the kind of relationships and connections that help us feel safe so that we can then explore and share in our experiences, which are going to create the sense of belongingness even more deeply. And the more deeply we feel that we belong, the greater the healing process. And once we have that understanding that we can heal, we can allow the ab reactions or the tremorings or however it's going to be done to happen to purge ourselves of these traumatic and highly stressful experiences that we've been holding on to. And that's all I got.
When you combine emotional thinking and rational thinking, you grow to wisdom thinking. Can't remember what that's from, but that's the method.
It's funny because emotional thinking is an oxymoron, but I understand where you're coming from. It's the rational thinking plus the emotional awareness that we have, and that's where those two um, collide is where we have behavior. So by understanding our behavior, by really creating a deep understanding, we understand the emotional responses and reactions as well as having a way of translating our emotional our logical thinking to create a bridge between our emotions and our thoughts.
That's why you should always think before you react. That's why you should be receptive to what a person is saying versus being just readily available to attack upon singling out a single word that you heard within an entire 20-minute thinking piece. A person to hear you'll talk for half an hour. All they'll hear is the first 5 minutes of what you said.
In the last 5.
And yeah, you're not going to get very far operating like that. That's why I don't know.
This is another good conversation for us to delve into as well.
Yeah, y'all be tripping. Y'all really be tripping. I'm telling you. Go back a couple of live streams. We did a show on context. We did one on context, understanding context. We did one on damn it was just so many different ones, man. I can't just pull them up off the top of my head, but you would be surprised. You would absolutely be surprised. It might help to refresh your brain. Go to work, put your earbuds in, your headphones in, go to sleep tonight. Just play one and let the stream play out. Yeah. No wasted words up here at all. Ever. Jot that one down, though. I might forget to jot that one down. I got the other one. But real quick, I just wanna say thank you to everybody who came out tonight. Everybody that's watching. Appreciate you. I hope you got something out of this. As always, thank you, Light and Love, for your commentary, for your feedback, for engaging with us. We enjoyed that. I enjoy it too. Like we want to hear from you. So if you ever have anything that you want to ask, or if you have any topics, anything that's on your heart that you want us to discuss up here, email me, hit me up. We'll make it happen. If you ever want to be a part of the show, hit me up. Like Love, you've been up here before, so you already know the energy. It's all love, though. We about to get up out of here, but I do hope everyone has a blessed night. Wednesday, we halfway through the week. Drive safe. Let me get to that last comment. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you again for having this talk, Mel, and Light and Love. Thank you so much for your comments. It really helped to spark more conversation and really keep it going, and even invite other avenues of thought about this. So it was really great. Looking forward to either having you on stage or continue to having you through the comments.
Absolutely. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you're not following him, make sure you go do that exponentially. I hope I said that right. I hear T.I. say it all the time, so I figured I got it right. But this is a similar. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Light and Love said, appreciate both of you and look forward to doing this again soon. Thursday, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're always here. We're always cooking.
Right on. This is Assembly Excellence saying good night. Peace and love.